Hey, what's up, everybody? If you're enjoying the video, please hit that subscribe button and give a thumbs up. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. It really helps support the channel and allows me to keep creating content for you guys.
My name is Ji-hye. I remember the day we moved into our new apartment. The sunlight streamed through the large windows, promising a future as bright and clean as the polished floor. Min-joon held me close, whispering about the life we would build here. A life filled with laughter, shared dreams, and mutual support. He spoke of our home, our future, our family. I believed him with every fiber of my being. I was so happy, so utterly consumed by the joy of starting this new chapter with the man I loved. This home wasn't just walls and furniture. It was the physical embodiment of our hopes. The first few weeks were a blur of unpacking and settling in. It was exciting. We picked out curtains together, debated paint colors, assembled furniture. I loved watching our space come alive piece by piece. But even then, tiny cracks started to appear in my perfect picture. I'd be knee-deep in boxes and Min-joon would disappear to play games on his phone. I'd cook our first meal and he'd leave his dishes on the table saying he'd get them later. A later that never came. I'd find socks scattered like breadcrumbs leading back to his spot on the sofa. It was small things at first. Trivial, I told myself. He works hard. He's just adjusting. Everyone has their habits. I picked up the socks, washed the dishes, wiped down the counters he'd splattered. I did it with a smile because this was our home and I was building it, nurturing it. This was love, wasn't it? Taking care of the person you cherished? But the small things didn't stop. They multiplied. The laundry basket overflowed, ignored. Dust gathered on surfaces only I seemed to see. The bathroom tiles grew grimy, the toilet bowls stained. My attempts to talk about it were met with a shrug, a quick, okay, I'll help, followed by continued inaction or sometimes a frustrated sigh. Why are you nagging? He'd say, his voice losing its earlier warmth. The sunlight in the apartment started to feel less warm, more clinical. The bright future began to look a little gray. The dream wasn't just fading. It felt like I was waking up slowly, painfully into something cold and unfamiliar. A distinct unease settled deep in my stomach. This wasn't the partnership I'd envisioned. This felt heavy. The unease became a constant, suffocating presence. The house felt less like a shared sanctuary and more like my solitary workspace, an endless cycle of cleaning and organizing that only I participated in. My days were structured around meals I cooked, clothes I washed and folded, floors I swept and mopped, bathrooms I scrubbed. Min-joon's contribution remained minimal, almost non-existent. His messes were passive-aggressive declarations of expectation. His lack of help wasn't just laziness. It began to feel deliberate. I tried talking again, more seriously this time. I sat him down, explained how overwhelmed I felt, how I longed for us to be a team, to share the burden of making our home comfortable. His response: a masterpiece of deflection. Ji-hye, you're so sensitive, he'd say, looking genuinely puzzled, or perhaps just feigning it. It's just housework. It's not that hard. Not that hard. I wanted to scream. Try doing it all every single day while working too. He'd continue, voice smooth, laced with subtle condescension. My mother always managed everything perfectly without complaining. Isn't this just part of being a wife? Taking care of the home. But there was the comparison to his mother. Not just his mother, but the idealized, tireless, selfless figure he held up as the standard. His mother, a woman whose entire life had been devoted to serving her family, whose identity seemed solely tied to the cleanliness of her home and the satisfaction of her husband and sons. When his family visited, the pressure intensified. His mother would inspect corners with a hawk-like gaze, though her words were coated in saccharine praise. Oh, Ji-hye, the house is so clean. Min-joon is lucky to have such a diligent wife. His father would nod approvingly. His aunt would remark, it's good to see a young wife taking her duties seriously. Duties. The word hung in the air like a shroud. It wasn't about partnership. It was about performing a duty. My role wasn't wife. It was unpaid domestic staff. My thoughts, my feelings, my exhaustion were irrelevant. What mattered was the appearance of a perfectly kept home, a testament to his success in finding a good wife, and his family's continued adherence to tradition. The manipulations grew bolder. If I left something for him just once to make a point, his dirty plate, his discarded clothes, He would leave it there for days, a silent battle of wills. If I finally did it, he'd act like I was being unreasonable, punishing him. Sometimes he'd help, performatively, washing one dish while I cleaned the entire kitchen, folding one shirt while I folded a mountain of laundry, and then act like he'd done a tremendous favor, sighing heavily as if I was burdening him. He started controlling the household budget, saying it would be simpler, but then subtly criticizing my spending on things I needed because he felt my time and labor were free. My voice was systematically silenced. Any complaint was met with gaslighting. You're imagining things. I help all the time, you just don't notice. Withdrawal of affection or accusations of being ungrateful. I became isolated, trapped in the gilded cage of our perfect home, performing for an audience of one man and his approving family. Paranoia gnawed at me. Did they plan this? Was I just a means to an end? A clean house and a traditional wife to uphold their image? The beautiful apartment became a suffocating prison. Every corner a reminder of my invisible labor, every shared meal a performance of a happiness I no longer felt. I stared at the strip, then at my reflection. My eyes were wide with a horror that surpassed even the pain of the betrayal. I was pregnant. Just as I was about to break free from the suffocating trap of this house, this marriage, this life of servitude, I was bound tighter than ever before. A child. Our child. How could I leave now? How could I subject an innocent life to the chaos, the uncertainty, the single-parent struggle? The front door, just meters away, felt like it was on the other side of the world. The suitcase dropped from my hand, hitting the polished floor with a hollow thud that echoed the emptiness inside me. My escape route vanished in an instant. The dream of freedom, of a new beginning, was snatched away by a cruel twist of fate. I was still here, still trapped in this beautiful prison, but now the bars felt heavier, the walls thicker. I sank to the floor, the cold tile seeping into my skin. The faint smell of the cleaning products I had used earlier seemed to intensify, cloying and suffocating. This house, this life of endless, invisible labor wasn't just my burden anymore. It was our child's fate too. Min-joon never came out of the bedroom. He wouldn't. He would wait for me to clean up the mess, literally and figuratively. He would wait for me to return to my role, to pretend the confrontation never happened, or perhaps, to use it as leverage. And now, with this new life growing inside me, what choice did I have? The silence of the apartment wasn't empty. It was filled with the silent accusations of unwashed dishes, unswept floors, the relentless demand of the house itself. My husband didn't help with the housework. He took it for granted. And now his child would too. The nightmare wasn't over. It had just begun its most terrifying act. I was the keeper of the house, and now I was a mother, trapped in a life I desperately wanted to escape, bound forever by the invisible chains of expectation and unpaid labor. The perfect clean house felt like a tomb. My future, once bright, was now cast in a perpetual domestic